Welcome back to another exciting repair video. What day is today? It's Wednesday. Wednesday night. I didn't come to work again. I slept in, and then I went to my kid's football game. And I got work to do. So first up is a Nintendo Switch. This was brought to us for not charging, I believe. Well, it says resolve USB port. And for any device that's in for repair, before I even plug it in, because I don't want to damage my chargers, I look at the USB port under a microscope to look for damage. And if there's damage, then I don't plug anything into it. Not a diagnostic tool, not a charger. And I resolve that USB port. So let's take a look under the microscope and see what the USB port looks like. Okay, there is obvious damage. I can see damage pin there and over here. And the other side looks okay, but it doesn't matter because if there's one pin bent out of place, then it's broken. I know what's wrong with it. It's broke. I'm going to take this apart, get the board out. We'll replace the USB port, check for shorted capacitors on some chips, and see if we can fix this quickly. Okay, here I got the motherboard out. I'm going to throw it on the workbench and check for shorts. Here at the M92, normal, 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 normal. And at the PI3, normal. All right, I'm going to replace the USB port. Here I use a Hakko heavy weight mount to hold the board, and I'm using a camera mounting system to hold my heat gun right underneath the board, and then I'll blast it with heat and replace the USB port all in a quick swoop. Just if you can ever help it, don't share your workspace with anyone. I need to share my workspace so that other people can get things done around here, and I don't have a huge workspace. And shit's never where I leave it. It's where someone else leaves it. And my tweezers that I use for swapping HDMI ports and USB ports took me a minute. Found them on the floor, dirty with flux and whatnot. I need to order another set of these. Okay, to what I'm doing. Alright, let's go here with some flux. And I like to add leaded solder in on the legs. Kind of makes things go smoother. I also found my spool of solder on its side. How that makes sense to anyone, I don't know. Alright, let's see if this comes off. Alright, all the pads look good. That means the replacement's going to go right on. And I like to add more flux. Oh, I hit the liquid damage indicator. That's okay. Alright. Looks lined up pretty okay. Little bit of pressure on top. And remove the heat. And count to 30 or something like that. Make sure that all the joints are no longer molten before you lift it off. I'm breathing in hot air. Not supposed to do that. It's bad for your innards. Okay. So I noticed that all the pins kind of tinned except for this one, but it's on there pretty good. And this looks good. So I'm gonna put some IPA on there, clean it up real quick. Look at that, I found IPA generally where I leave it. That's something else. Okay. Soldering work is done. I'm going to put a diagnostic tool on there, check the diode readings on the port real quick, hook a battery up, make sure that it's getting the proper voltage and amperage, and it should work fine. We'll be right back. Okay, that Nintendo Switch repair is done, and let's see, how long did it take me to do it? Done in 23 minutes, which gives me an opportunity to mention something. I am a huge advocate for work on your own stuff, but that one no one had ever touched. And like, it's amazing feeling when you pull off that metal plate and the thermal putty's still intact and you feel it kind of pop and everything is unmolested on the inside. And then I can do a repair in 23 minutes. Because when I have to fix stuff that someone else has already fucked up, which is fine, okay? It's just, it takes longer. And when you're running a business and you come up with the price for a service, the price is kind of broken down into a couple of categories. And one is the expertise of your ability to do a repair. And two is the time that it's going to take. And so you'll have a base price figured in for the time that you expect something to take and the expertise involved and your tools and shop and everything like that. And then if it takes longer, when it shouldn't, you have to charge more because it changes the equation of how your price is figured in. So when you are fixing a do-it-yourself failure, a lot of times you have to charge more. So it's just something to consider before you dive in if you don't know what you're doing. YouTube makes it look really easy. I make it look really easy. And it is if you have experience. The first time, the second time, third time I did this, soldering experience helped make it easier than if I were a total novice. But even then, like, you kind of craft a way of doing each repair. And that comes with time and experience and repetition. So I generally would encourage people to just take it to someone else unless you're very technically minded and you have the proper tools. Anyways, that's a spiel. I'm going to move on to the next repair of the night. Okay, next on the workbench is two Nintendo 3DS boards. One brought as a donor, one brought as the repair piece. And I might need to refuse repair on this one or at least advise the customer that, like, dude, this shit ain't gonna work when I'm done with it. Let me show you what they want us to do. So this is the repair piece. And you can see quite plainly that this FPC ribbon connector is damaged. It's missing the flap and that ain't gonna work. And so they brought it to us and they asked us to take this connector off of this donor board and install it onto the board that they want to work. There are problems here. The capacitors seem connected. I don't know, but it's clearly been worked on. This digitizer connector, maybe that'll work. I don't know. It should be replaced also. Here we have more flux and stuff that's damaged, but I don't know what you might not be able to see on the microscope. Well, you see this crack here? I mean, this is like dented in right here pretty heavily. And then I also noticed over here by the, what is that? The left trigger. The board is broken right here also. I mean, look at this. I don't know if that's empty space or what, but this is broken. And I mean, anytime you see cracked and damaged PCB, it's just usually going to be a lost cause. I'll tell you, to be honest. So, question goes like this. Should I even work on it? It's 10:42 at night. I have a hard time texting the customer to ask if they want me to proceed or not. It's just not gonna. I don't think it's gonna work. The connector's not the only problem. I think I'm gonna have to put this one on the back burner. I mean, I could do the repair. I could switch the connector in probably 5 minutes. So it's not like a huge waste of my time. But I feel bad charging the customer for a job that is going to be totally in vain. It'd be hard to believe that they don't know that there's damage on there. Now, this customer is very into all sorts of backdoor shit on consoles and games. They're all about prototypes and developer kits and all this sort of thing. And this motherboard might not be just a run-of-the-mill 3DS. If I were to guess, I would bet that there's something special about it, some sort of software hacked, and they would be desperate to make this work. Just knowing this customer, I'm thinking if there's any chance at this thing working, they're going to want it to. So with that in mind, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the job. Okay, I'm going to start by removing the damaged port. And I'm going to put a little bit of flux on there. I'm probably going to help correct their capacitors. I think I'm going to do this digitizer connection as well, because if we're going to get this thing to work, we need to give it its best shake at working. Okay. Take that off. Let's take this off. Okay. Now I'm going to get the donor parts off of the other board. Okay, so on my donor board, I'm not going to use any flux because I want these parts to come off nice and clean. So I may need... The nice thing about flux on removing is it makes the solder turn shiny, and it helps you know when it's melted and ready to go. So I just need to be a little bit more careful, but there goes the digitizer connection. And see, that one's almost ready. Why is this not coming? Let's... All right, got it. Okay, now back to the board that we're working on. Okay, I'm trying something new here. I've never done this. I'm trying to pre-position the connectors before applying any heat. Because since I'm heating from underneath, I shouldn't have any air movement pushing them out of place. I'm going to see if by putting heat on, if they'll flow right into place. All right, heat activated. I'm going 350 degrees at 100% airspeed from underneath. And I'm going to see if these just kind of flow right into place. Bear with me. See that that big one shifted a little bit. The little one seems to have flowed in quite nicely. See, this board is actually damaged right now. I don't even know if this is going to lay flat, but I'm going to try to give it a little tap. There we go. It's not laying flat. This might be an impossible repair. Okay, let's... Alright, so that's aligned. The question is it making connection? I don't really know. Alright, I'm going to remove the heat and I'm going to check the pins. Okay, so I went through with my multimeter in continuity mode, and the back row has solid continuity with the small pins, and the front row is supposed to have continuity with the ones that are taller. And I didn't check all the front ones because some had continuity and other ones didn't, and essentially I know that this is not soldered on all the way. And I think I'm going to try and do touch-up soldering with the micro pin and the super fine pin tip and see if I can get those connected. Seems that that's the only way because the board isn't flat and the connector is, and so they're not going to meet up naturally. Okay, at this point I forgot to hit record, but nonetheless I tried to touch each of those pins with solder and the micro pen, and now I'm going to go through and check them to see if there's continuity or not. Okay, this is proving to be ridiculous. You know, it's funny how I said it would only take a few minutes to swap it over, and now it's become an ordeal where I'm not even happy with the price I quoted in the first place because ain't no one told me when they called me that it wasn't flat. And I think there's just this shouldn't have been taken in, and I think now I feel pot committed per se. I really want to get it fixed, or at least connected, because I don't even know if the rest of this is going to work. But at this point, I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to resolder those connection points, try to make it as bulbous as I can, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is push each individual pin down as I solder it, more or less bending them out of their normal position. And when I do that, it seems to be that they get soaked in the solder. Of course, this requires more precision than I think I ordinarily have. Of course, I bridged the last two. Okay, maybe this one again. All right, what do we think? I think they look pretty good. I probably ordinarily wouldn't try so hard on such a stupid project, but this customer, I go back with them quite a distance. They've been coming to my shop since it was a much smaller, less successful shop, and I don't know. I just really want to come through for them. I want to know that even if the 3DS is cracked and won't work, that the reason it won't work isn't because this connector didn't work out. So, four for four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Booyah. Okay, I can't say that the 3DS is going to work, but I can tell you that this was soldered on and it's attached all the pins. I got video proof. All right, we'll let the customer know, and I really hope that it works. Whatever is special about this 3DS, I want them to be able to use it for sure. All right, I'm going to move on to the next job. Okay, next on the workbench is an Xbox One X. This one's cool in that it's a one of the limited editions. It's not just black. It's got this like gold hue to it and fades to gray. And they say that this one doesn't turn on. So let's plug a power cord here. And I can hear the problem already. Beep, nothing. Nothing. No beep. Beep, nothing. Oh, we got a light that time. And then it shuts off. Okay, I can hear the problem. I'm going to put my microphone right next to it and just for 5 seconds be quiet and listen. Turn your volume up. Okay, I hope that that picks up on the mic. This has a buzz coming from the power supply. And in my experience, that's an indicator that the power supply has gone kaput. So this may end up being super simple. I'm going to open it up, take the power supply out, and put a new one in, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, I got the new power supply in here. I haven't put it all back together yet. Let's check it out. And we'll put a channel up and hit the power button. You can see the light. And the light stays on. That's good. And in Xbox fashion, they still take a long time to turn on. I wonder why it doesn't have the splash screen coming up. I can hear the hard drive moving. Still powered on. I believe it's sending signal to the TV. That's why it says black instead of no signal. Or it doesn't say black, it just is black. And as long as, there it is. No green splash screen. I don't know what that's about. But power works. So that one's pretty simple. If when you plug it in, you hear static or something coming from the power supply, that'll be the first thing you check. I'm going to put this one back together and we'll move on to the next project. Okay, next one I'm working on is an Xbox controller with drift. We'll knock that out real quick, but I'll show you what's going on with the problem. So clearly the left stick has a problem. Right stick seems okay. Left is going straight up. If I press down, it goes straight down. Up, it won't go all the way up. But the left and right seem fine. So we're just going to repair the up-down part of the stick on this controller. Okay, so get the controller disassembled about this far, including loosening this board from the rest of it. I don't need to take it apart any more than that. Any more than that would be a waste of time. So let's jump under the microscope. Okay, so looking at it upside down, this one up here by the left trigger is your left stick, and the up-down movement is right here, and the left sideways movement is right here. So I'm going to replace this part. So I'm going to flip this over and pop that off. Okay, then I'm going to go back and work on it from here. So fume extractor on. I'm going to put some flux right there. And I need some low melt solder. And I have some, not on my work mat, but on my desk. So I'm just getting a new piece here. Okay, so with the big soldering iron, I'm going to add low melt mixture into these 3 pins. And you don't need a lot, but I'll use a lot. And then I'm going to go back and forth until basically that part comes off. Okay, then I'm going to grab my wick and I'm going to soak up and clear the holes. Pretty easy. Then with a wipe or a Q-tip soaked in IPA, just clean that up. Okay, cool. Then you need your replacement part. You can pull these off of a full stick, or you can buy bags of just these. But in any case, I'm going to flip this over and put that through the holes and snap it into the stick. And check for a solid fluid movement. If the stick feels clunky, replace the whole stick. If it feels buttery smooth, then replace the faulty part. Then we're going to come in with solder. Now, the thing to know about these is that they don't come calibrated to the controller. You have to calibrate them afterwards. With the Xbox One controller with a normal looking D-pad, you have to do it manually. With these newer ones, with this D-pad, Microsoft provided recalibrating software. Let me be clear. If the stick's doing that, recalibrating software ain't gonna do shit. You need to replace parts. Then the replacement parts, they're gonna be off center, and so you need to calibrate them afterwards. I'm going to put this back together. I'll show you what it looks like before I calibrate it and then after I calibrate it. Okay. Sometimes you just get lucky. This one doesn't require calibration at all. It's up and down is perfect. Left and right is pretty dang good too. I want to recalibrate it just for the fun of it. We'll see if we see any changes. Well, I realize I forgot to show you what was on my screen. You're sitting here watching me do this. It is past midnight. And I'm sitting here reeling with a question that my 7-year-old son asked me earlier tonight about death, and I didn't really know how to answer it. So I'm a little bit distracted. Let's show you on screen. You have to take my word for it that the calibration was spot on before, and now it is. My designation for drift is if you see it at 0.08 or more, you're going to notice it in game. These are all doing quite good. You know, I think this controller should be working pretty good for the customer. So this one's done. I'm going to move on to the next one. And I only have one left for the night that I'm going to put on this recording. Can only bore you so much with drift repair on controllers. I get a lot of those. Okay, last one for the night is an Xbox One original model. And I think you might wonder why someone's paying money to service this, but maybe you're not, because this is a limited edition. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. I think it's pretty cool, but it doesn't really matter what I think. My customer thinks it's cool, and it's overheating, and the solution for there is going to be internal dust cleaning and reapplication of thermal paste on the APU. For the purpose of this video, I'm not going to do a teardown, but I'm going to show the separation of the heat sink from the board, and we'll see how dried out that thermal paste is, or how dusty it is in there. We'll be right back. Okay, I haven't quite got the motherboard out yet, but I thought I'd show you this. This is a masterpiece of dust. The thickness of the dust. Can you see it caked on the heat sink there? Maybe. Look at this. That's this is a cleaning project, is what it is. I'll be back. Okay, got the motherboard out, and I'm going to pop it off, and we'll see how dry that thermal paste is. Although I think with the amount of dust caked in on the heatsink, that could have been the only problem. But this is a full service facility. Okay, we don't do half measures. Overhead. Okay, so the fan is going to go in the ultrasonic cleaner. If I could get it disconnected from the board. The heck, I've never had one so stubborn to come off. I swear, if I rip this off during a routine cleaning, I'm just going to call it a night. There it goes. Okay. Now we have the famous X-clamp here. You know what? This tool costs like $6. Just buy it. Just buy it. If you're a tech or someone who's providing this service for other people, you will never regret this purchase. And if you are a do-it-yourself person, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen people try to pry off this X-clamp with a screwdriver of sorts, and then the screwdriver gets away from them, and they scar the motherboard and damage tracework, and then like they break it. And then they don't even want to pay to get it fixed because now, people come in and they don't want to admit that they screwed up. And so then there's all this bench time involved with trying to figure that out. Just you watch, you'll see how easy it is to get this off with this tool. Was that hard? This is a $6 tool. I got 3 of them. I use them for other things too, because they're actually really cool that they're not sharp anywhere, so they make great prying tools. It's the kind of tool that you don't regret having. Okay, so this was like just falling off of here, like it's not attached good at all anymore. Wow. Just look at it, okay? I gotta zoom in. Okay. Look at this. There is like... It's hard to distinguish a dry spot because... once you pry it off, you don't really know where it was dry. But my theory, my uneducated theory, is that wherever you don't see much of the actual paste anymore, like in this area, it probably was just dried out and separating. Because I think as this stuff dries out and it gets hot, it just kind of starts moving away. But this stuff is just not viscous at all anymore. See, you're not supposed to be able to pick up chunks like that. I don't know. What do I know? I just know that thermal paste goes bad and then that shit starts overheating. So when your shit's overheating, you replace the thermal paste and clean out all the dust and clean the heat sink and everything like that. And then it doesn't overheat anymore. So I'm going to get this cleaned up and I'm going to show you how to put the appropriate amount of thermal paste on there. Why do I say the appropriate amount? Because, well, I'll save it. We'll get to that in a sec. Okay, so I've cleaned this off and I'm going to have someone wonder, well, why didn't you clean it off over here and over here and over here? And I'm telling you what, because it doesn't matter. Thermal paste is non-conductive, okay? If it mattered, they would have covered all that with some sort of insulating protective material to prevent it from getting there. It doesn't matter. And I clean the surface of the APU. You see the APU? It's like mirror finish. Look, you can probably see the reflection of my tweezers. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. So, application of new thermal paste. It's not the perfect amount. You know what? I like Tronics Fix. I've watched the channel many times. Sometimes I disagree with his methods, but like, dude knows his stuff, and I admire. I genuinely admire that he built this like catchphrase of the perfect amount of thermal paste to the point that I've worked on boards up front in front of customers. Doing disassemblies and stuff, and I've had customers walk up and be like, you gonna put that perfect amount of thermal paste on? Hey man, kudos to that guy. But I don't want to be a perpetuator of false information. Okay? The perfect amount of thermal paste is the appropriate amount, which is enough. Okay, it doesn't matter if you put too much on because it just spills off over the side and it's non-conductive and it's not going to harm anything. So the thing is you don't want to put too little. You want to cover the entire surface of the die. Now, I'll show you what I mean here. Okay, I've heard of people just doing a big blob in the middle. Okay, and then figuring it would spread out. I've seen people do swirls. Okay, big X's, like as though there's some sort of hack secret. And this is what, dude, what is that guy's name? Hang on. Okay, Steve, Mr. Steve Porter. This is what he nails. So for that matter, I say he's got really good advice on thermal paste. And it goes like this, okay? You don't need to have a blob in the middle. You don't need a zigzag. You need proper and full coverage. So, dude, just put it on there and grab a little paintbrush and spread it around. And as long as you got full coverage, then you know there's not going to be any dry spots. And if there's if it looks like there's not enough, then put more on. The amount of thermal paste that you need to use, whether you have a big APU or a little one, is not expensive. It's actually quite cheap. So just get enough on there. When I press the damn heatsink on here, it's gonna spill over the sides. I mean, it freaking flushes against the APU. And so the whole thing is making sure that every square millimeter of this thing gets thermal paste so that there's no dry spots. Okay? I realize that was out of focus. I apologize for that. But look, it's full coverage is what it is. So just put enough on. Too little, bad. Too much, not bad. So somewhere after enough is how much you put on. And then there's different grades of thermal paste. Okay, I use Arctic MX4. Okay. I know they've come out with a few variations since then, but MX4's go-to. It's so cheap now. I buy the big syringe. I put it in smaller syringes. I use them all over the shop, and never once have had a complaint about overheating after I've serviced a console. So Arctic MX4 is what I recommend. If you get super analytical, is some of the newer compounds better? Sure. But this console's from 2013. Okay, it's not generating enough heat to matter. But I use the same stuff on the Series X. So, whatever. Okay, I'll put this thing back together. I just wanted to update you that I broke their fan. This one's not theirs. I was cleaning it, and one of the blades just like freaking fell off. So, I've never seen that. But whatever. I grabbed a replacement. It's OEM. It's terrific. I forget what I was doing here. Okay. Okay. So then you put the heat sink on. That don't seem right. So heatsink goes on, and then the way that this 8X clamp reattaches is just you just do one corner, then the opposite corner, and they just push in, and that's done. I'll come back with the finished product because I think it looks pretty good. I cleaned the lid and stuff. Okay. Okay, all done. Check this out. That is clean, huh? The top of this vent here gets so dirty. Tell you what I do. When the lid is off, I take a scrub brush over the ultrasonic cleaner and I clean that shit. It's like the most impressive thing. If I were a customer and I brought something in that was caked in dirt up here and then it were handed back to me looking like this, I just think I'd be happy. And that's what I do. I aim to please. That's it for tonight. Thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, like the video. It motivates me to want to do this again. I know I'm small fries on YouTube, but if you enjoyed the content, support the little guy. You never know what'll happen.